Hi class, and welcome to lesson 4. I hope you've all had a great weekend, that you enjoyed listening to conference, and that you got something out of conference, maybe an answer to something, or just enjoyed hearing all the different talks. Go ahead and leave a comment below if you'd like. You don't have to do this, but if anybody feels like sharing something that they learned from conference or a talk that they really like, go ahead and leave a short comment below. Maybe it'll be fun to see some dialogue between the class on favorite talks that were given at conference. So now we're starting off a new week here, lesson 4. And before I start talking a little bit about the material for this week, I kind of wanted to go over just a couple of things. First off, I've been getting a couple of emails asking about like when I leave feedback on assignments, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to resubmit the assignment with the feedback you gave? And the answer to that is no. The feedback's there to let you know what to improve on for the next time. So especially in these first few lessons where we're kind of talking about paragraph writing and we're writing specifically on different parts of an essay, what I'm trying to do is give you some feedback so that when you write that essay, you can use that feedback that I've given you in your essay. You'll see throughout this course, things will just continue to build on each other. So that feedback there is to let you know, hey, I think, maybe you could have done a little bit better on this, and that's why you lost a couple of points. So, next time, make sure you focus on that. It's to try and guide you, to help you become a better writer, and really what I'm going off of when I'm grading is the rubric. The rubrics that are available for you, and that's where I'm trying to show, hey, maybe we missed this part. We didn't have this part of the rubric in there. So be making sure that as you're doing these writing assignments, you follow that rubric, and then you'll be getting full points. But if I do leave you feedback, please don't think of it as, like, oh my gosh, I screwed up, or it's terrible, I'm not a good writer, or anything like that. No, the feedback's there. It's meant to be constructive, to help you become a better writer, and to let you know what you can improve on in the future. The other thing, I've gotten a few questions about late assignments. Just like, I think it kind of comes as a shock. Like, it's like, oh, I turned it in like 5 minutes late. And unfortunately, the system is that strict where it's like, if an assignment's due at 11:59 p.m., basically midnight, if you turn it in at 12:05 a.m., it does mark it wrong. And so with that, I kind of look at it, if it really is like a few minutes, if you shoot me an email, I'll go in and I'll take that late penalty off. I'm not going to penalize you for a few minutes. That could be your internet speed, something like that. But if it is pretty much an entire day late, then I do leave the late penalty on there. So I've gotten a couple emails about that, so I just thought I'd, kind of let the whole class know that. All right, let's talk about this week a little bit. So this will be the last week of what's considered Unit 1. Unit 1, we've been talking about a lot about different mentalities of learning. I know last week we spent some time talking about the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. This week, for your life skills, you'll be talking a lot about the learning model. And what those steps are to the learning model. This segment is quite long, so I would give yourself some extra time to be able to read through that, to watch some of the videos, and really understand how the learning model can be used, and how it can help you become, a better learner and a better educator, because part of the learning model is teaching other people, which I believe is really important when you're learning a subject, to be able to talk about that subject and teach someone else about that subject. It just cements it in your mind anymore. Sometimes I feel like, but when I look back at college, I was a math tutor all throughout college, and I feel like I learned more about math and got better at math every day when I was tutoring rather than I did when I was taking classes. Just because repeating it and having to explain it to someone really helps. So anyway, so this week you'll be learning all about the learning model. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to me. For our writing this week, we're going to be writing a paragraph, or it's going to be focused on the body paragraph of an essay. By now you should be picking which prompt you want. When you pull up the writing assignment, you'll see it has 5 different prompts to choose from. I know they introduced this in like last lesson 3, and this may have caused some confusion as well, because some of the prompts on there you hadn't even learned yet. And so it was like, wait, how am I supposed to start writing an essay on one of these prompts? Well, hopefully by the end of this week and a little bit into next week, you'll have seen all those different prompts that you could choose to write your essay on. Your essay is due at the end of week 5, so I would highly, if there's one that sounds interesting and we haven't learned about it yet, go ahead, and it's going to be next week's. Go ahead and wait, but I would probably try and choose one that you can maybe start writing on now. That way, it's less work you have to do next week when you have to write that entire essay. So that's what we'll be working on this week in writing. We'll be focusing on the body paragraph of an essay. In math, we're going to be working on multiplication and division. Pretty similar to the other math sections where there's just lots of videos on there. Again, you can kind of go at your own pace on this. If you feel pretty confident in it and you just want to jump into the exercises, great. But if you feel like, you need some extra time and you need to be able to watch those videos, then go through those videos. They're very, very well done. There's also another great resource out there. I think there's even links throughout the lesson of that to the Khan Academy. I really like the Khan Academy. Anytime I had or I have a math question, a lot of times, the first place I'll go is the Khan Academy. And it's almost like YouTube, but just focused on math, where you could go type, a question like, how do I multiply decimals? And there'll be a video on it. So anyways, definitely if you need some extra help, I'd recommend looking into the Khan Academy. That's and that's pretty much all I have for math. The last thing on the list that you will need to start doing this week, although it's not an assignment you'll be turning in this week, it is tracking your expenses. So over the next 4 weeks, you'll need to track your expenses. And the reason why is because on week 8, you will be doing it. Week 8 and 9, you will be using that information. So if you don't do it, and if you don't start doing it now, come week 8 or 9, you might be hurting because if you don't have all that information. You could go and look at bank statements. If you're one that only purchases things using a debit or a credit card, then you can always go look at bank statements. Nowadays, that's pretty much all online, and you can probably pull up a history there of your expenses. But if you're using, a debit card and a credit card and cash here and there, it's probably just easier to track it yourself rather than trying to pull those statements. When you're reading up on this, you'll see that there is a link that will download a tracking file. You're welcome to use that if you want to use that to track your expenses. If you're already doing something, then just keep doing that. Or if you want to try something different, you're welcome to as well. I've done Excel spreadsheets. I think they work pretty good. I've used different apps. I've used different programs on the computer. Really just find what works for you. And for this first assignment, if you're not doing this already, I would recommend just using the Excel spreadsheet and keeping it simple. Don't go out and research what's the best app for all this or anything like that. I just keep it simple, use the Excel spreadsheet. Then if you really like it and you get really into it, then go ahead and start taking it a little more serious and maybe finding some different program that has a little more bells and whistles than Excel does. But for now, pretty simple. Just keep track of those expenses. If you go to McDonald's for lunch, how much did you spend? If you, house payments, electricity, gas, all that stuff. So that way at the end of the month, you can see how much money you spent on different categories. So that's all I've got for you now. Hope you have a great week, and let me know if you need anything. Bye.